I look at all my films as my children. They're really important to me. And if I say I like one over the other, they will rise up in the night, the other ones, and get me.
Although always gentle and friendly on screen, Sally Field has had unexpected dark corners in her Hollywood journey. Behind that familiar smile are tense relationships, unsuccessful collaborations, even hatred for some famous co-stars. Why did Burt Reynolds, who once called her the love of his life, call Sally the worst kisser? Who are the other faces on the Oscar-winning actress's blacklist? Discover the 5 names that Sally Field can't forget but doesn't want to remember in the video below. Burt Reynolds, dubbed Sally Field the love of my life, but their relationship was much more difficult than public perception. On the set of Smokey and the Bandit in 1977, their romance became immediate and intense, according to Field. After dating for 5 years and co-starring in 4 films, the duo split in 1982. Reynolds and Field had great chemistry on and off screen. They started a 5-year romance after meeting on the Smokey and the Bandit set in 1977. The duo made 3 further films together: The End, 1978, Hooper, 1978, and Smokey and the Bandit 2, 1980. Field was first captivated by Reynolds' charm and stardom. I was sort of, deeply entangled, she told Diane Sawyer on Good Morning America. He gave me a feeling that I was sexy, and I wanted to be everything he ever wanted, she said. Their connection got more difficult over time. Reynolds repeatedly begged Field to marry him, but she felt his reluctance. I knew his heart wasn't in it, Field said. We'd have ended up just feeling terrible. Field understood the connection was unhealthy, despite her first desire. In her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, she called Reynolds dictatorial and emotionally distant. By the time we met, the weight of his stardom had become a way for Burt to control everyone around him, and from the moment I walked through the door, it was a way to control me, she said. Field's 1980 Oscar nomination for Norma Rae was perhaps the most revealing. Reynolds aggressively hindered her success. He did not want me to go to Cannes Film Festival at all, Field said. He said, you don't think you're going to win anything, do you? Reynolds declined to be her date for the Academy Awards. He was not a nice guy around me then, and was not going to go with me, he said. Instead, actor David Steinberg and his then-wife Judy picked her up in a limousine with champagne, making the evening unique. Field subsequently remarked that Reynolds was not someone I could be around, and he was just not good for me in any way. In a 2022 Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen interview, she called it hither worst on-screen kiss because a lot of drooling was involved. Phil's self-esteem and career suffered from the relationship. My existence ended. I dressed, looked, and walked for him, she said. Reynolds hesitated to embrace her work success, which was especially challenging. Field's work in Norma Rae changed her career from a cheery flying nun star to a serious dramatic performer. Ironically, her personal life declined as her career grew. Reynolds' absence when Field won her first Academy Award for Norma Rae in 1980 showed his inability to support her. Field followed her, split in 1982 by winning a second Oscar for Places in the Heart in 1984. While Reynolds' career declined until Boogie Nights in the late night, Field had mixed feelings at Reynolds' September 2018 death at 82. In an official statement, she said, "Sometimes in your life are forever. They survive 40 years later. My Burt years are unforgettable. My past and emotions will always include him. Rest, but her memoir In Pieces, published days after Reynolds' death, gave a more nuanced view of their relationship. She said their relationship was not without loving and caring, but really complicated and hurtful to me. Bullitt said she was glad Reynolds wouldn't read her book. This would hurt him, she told the editor. I was delighted he wasn't going to read it, be asked about it, or defend himself, or lash out, which he definitely would have. I didn't want to harm him further." Reynolds expressed sadness about their split until his later years, unlike Field's balanced appraisal. He named Field the love of my life, and said, "I miss her terribly," in a 2015 Vanity Fair interview. "It still bothers me. Why was I so stupid?" He said, "That's how men are. You discover the perfect person and try to ruin it." Reynolds' niece, Nancy Lee Hess, said after his death that he had been looking forward to working with Quentin Tarantino on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which he never completed, cementing the sense of unfinished business that permeated his career and relationship with Field. Among the names that Sally Field had to remember with regret, Robin Williams was also mentioned with mixed feelings. Although the two created classic moments together in Mrs. Doubtfire, was the behind-the-scenes relationship as smooth as the audience imagined? Do you think that someone as funny and warm as Robin Williams could be on the list of people who made Sally Field uncomfortable? You may not believe it, but it is on the list. Robin Williams. Sally Field and Robin Williams starred together in the classic family comedy Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993, a film that left a strong impression on many generations of audiences. In the film, they played a divorced couple, with Williams posing as an elderly nanny to be close to their children. The combination of Field's emotional acting and Williams's explosive comedic style created a film that was both touching and humorous. But few people know that behind the scenes of this film was not as sweet as on screen.
Sally Field once publicly shared that working with Robin Williams was a memorable experience, but not easy.
On set, Robin was always full of energy, constantly joking and constantly improvising. This created a very lively filming environment, but also full of pressure for those around him. Field said candidly in an interview, "Robin is a genius, no doubt about it, but you have to learn to keep up, and sometimes it's exhausting." She said that during filming, Williams often improvised off script, changing lines or acting out situations that weren't in the original script. For an actress as emotional and restrained as Sally Field, keeping pace with Robin was sometimes a real challenge. She had to concentrate hard not to burst out laughing or lose her rhythm when Robin started spinning his sweet, crazy. One of the most memorable scenes is the brief kiss between Miranda, Field, and Daniel Williams. But for Field, it was a weird experience. She once said that Robin couldn't stop joking around, even during the kiss. "I almost had to hold him back to finish the scene." She added that the kiss scene was one of the strangest moments of her career, because you never knew when he was serious. Although, at times exhausted and overwhelmed by Robin's relentless energy, Sally Field never denied his rare talent. After Robin Williams' sudden and tragic death in 2014, Field shared emotionally, "He was a wonderful soul, but also very lonely. It was hard to understand the sadness behind his smile." Before becoming an Oscar-winning star, Sally Field had a rough time playing the flying nun in the sitcom, The Flying Nun. But did you know that the show's producer, Harry Ackerman, made the experience even more difficult for her? What happened between them behind the scenes? Who is the third hateful name? The Flying Nun producer, Harry Ackerman. Unlike her complicated relationship with Burt Reynolds or her tense collaboration with Robin Williams, Sally Field's relationship with television producer Harry Ackerman revealed a different side, quiet, controlling, and left a lasting mark on the young actress's career and psyche. After the cancellation of Gidget 1965, Sally Field, then 19, was at a crossroads in her career. Seeing great potential in her, Harry Ackerman, then the executive producer of ABC, was determined to keep her at all costs. He adapted the novel The 15th Pelican, 1965, into a sitcom called The Flying Nun, and aimed for Field to play the lead, despite her repeated rejections. Field found the premise of the show too crazy to accept, a diminutive nun wearing a cornet that allowed her to fly in the wind. "I didn't want to play a cute Catholic nun who didn't know anything about sex or rebellion, two things I found much more appealing," she shares. But it didn't stop there. Ackerman was not only persistent, but also subtle and ruthless. He secretly enlisted Field's stepfather, stuntman Jock Mahoney, to exert influence. During a surprise appearance at her home, Mahoney coldly told her, "If you don't take this part, Sally, you might never work in Hollywood again." This threat, coming from a relative, terrified the young woman. "I was too young to know that I should smile," Field recalled. "I just called them up and said, I guess I should take this part." After she agreed, Ackerman immediately fired the actress who had done the first screen test, making room for Field. For the young actress, it was the beginning of 3 years of both fame and pain. Although the show ran from 1967-1970 for a total of 82 episodes, Field was depressed, disoriented, and felt trapped in an image she did not want. "I didn't want to be a nun. I saw other images of myself, but I lost control because of fear." More than just an emotional toll, The Flying Nun also stunted Field's film career. She was labeled a naive TV actress, and this image became the subject of ridicule in the film industry. Field called it stigmatization. "TV was considered inferior to movies, and I came from The Flying Nun." Worse, she also disagreed with Ackerman's choice of name for the series, The Flying Nun, instead of the original, more elegant The 15th Pelican. This made her an easy target for ridicule. Field recalled, "You can only imagine what a pregnant flying nun looks like. I was a walking joke." Yet it was in this dark situation that Field found a silver lining. Actress Madeline Sherwood, Mother Superior in the film, saw hidden potential and introduced Field to Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio, a place that completely transformed her attitude and acting style. She shared, "I was doing The Flying Nun during the day, and I was studying at the Actors Studio at night. It was that double life that led me to the roles that won me an Oscar." After all, Field admits that the experience with The Flying Nun was brutal, but also provided a valuable lesson. You look back at the paths you take, and you have to learn to find value in them, because every path is taken for a reason. Sally revealed that she hated filming The Flying Nun, admitting she just put her head down and got it done because of the lack of respect on set, despite playing Aunt May in The Amazing Spider-Man. Sally Field has openly admitted that she wasn't interested in the role, but what annoyed her so much was that she hated the director. Let's explore why the relationship between Field and director Mark Webb was so tense behind the scenes of this superhero hit. Director of The Amazing Spider-Man. In a deja vu twist from her time on The Flying Nun, Sally Field once again found herself stuck in a role she didn't enjoy, this time as Aunt May in The Amazing Spider-Man. As one of Hollywood's most seasoned actresses, the experience reflected Field's deep frustration with the trend towards shallow characterizations, especially for older actresses in blockbuster movies. Phil played Peter Parker's devoted aunt in both the 2012 and 2014 installments. But rather than being fleshed out as a character with depth, Field's Aunt May was largely an emotional support device, sometimes doing Peter's laundry, sometimes cheering him up with little room for introspection or personal growth. For Field, it was a limiting, uninspired, and even boring role. The one bright spot during her time on the project, according to Field, was her collaboration with Andrew Garfield. Field called her young co-star a lovely actor and appreciated the connection they had both on and off screen. Garfield's like-mindedness and professionalism helped to alleviate some of the frustration Field felt with her role. When Howard Stern asked her directly if she was interested in joining The Amazing Spider-Man, Field answered bluntly, "Not really. It's not my kind of movie." She also revealed that the real reason she accepted the role was not out of artistic passion or career development. Rather, the decision stemmed from her personal feelings for producer Laura Ziskin, a longtime friend and first producing partner of Field's, who was battling terminal cancer at the time. "Laura was a wonderful person," Field said. "I knew this was going to be her last film. I took the role because of her, not because of the script or the role." Ziskin died in 2011, and for Field, appearing in the film felt like a farewell to a dear friend. In later interviews, Field was quick to point out her frustrations with the role of Aunt May. The character lacked depth, was given little room for creativity, and existed only as a vehicle to advance the protagonist's story. Her famous quote describing the experience was, "You can't put 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, no matter how hard you try." Notably, though, Phil's criticisms were not directed at director Mark Webb. She didn't openly criticize the director's handling of the project, instead blaming the script and the film's structure, elements that didn't give her character much room to grow. It seemed that even the director's direction wasn't enough to rescue her character from the one-dimensionality of the script. Field's experience with The Amazing Spider-Man only reinforced one thing: she didn't belong in the superhero movie world. An Oscar-winning actress who had won emotional roles in Norma Ray and Places in the Heart, Field felt creatively unfulfilled by playing a supporting role in a film filled with CGI effects. Just as she had been tied to the Flying Nun, Field found herself falling into a role that was accepted for reasons other than art. Once out of pressure, once out of loyalty, but both made her realize something important. Talent should not be wasted on projects that do not allow the artist to truly express themselves. Sally Field's career may have been a journey of memorable roles, but did you know that her childhood was the source of her deepest trauma? Of all the people who have left a strong and painful mark on her life, none has had a greater impact. Stepfather Jock Mahoney. The most damaging relationship of Sally Field's life was not with a fellow Hollywood actor, but with her stepfather, actor Jock Mahoney, who deeply hurt her and cast a shadow over her personal and professional life. Born in 1946, Field experienced family breakdown at an early age when her mother, Margaret Field, divorced her father, Richard, in 1951. Her mother then married Jock Mahoney in 1952, when Sally was just 4 years old. Mahoney, a successful stuntman and actor known by his stage name Jocko, doubled for Hollywood legends such as Errol Flynn, Gregory Peck, and John Wayne before launching his acting career in westerns and Tarzan films. In her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, Field revealed the devastating truth she had hidden for decades. Mahoney had been misbehaving and acting strangely throughout her childhood. According to Field, this began when she was around 7 years old, and it was heartbreaking because her mother was present. Due to community standards, we can't describe it, but you can refer to her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, for more details. This created deeply conflicting emotions for Field, who wrote, "I felt like a child, helpless and not a child. Strong. This was power, and I had it. But I wanted to be a child." And yet, indeed, Field struggled with the complexity of her feelings, noting, "It would be so much easier if I just felt one thing, if Jocko was nothing but cruel and terrifying. But he wasn't. He could be magic, the Piper, with our family as his rapt followers." These misdeeds continued until Field turned 14, fundamentally shaping her understanding of love and power. Mahoney's influence spilled over into Field's professional life, largely through the pattern of relationships she formed. When explaining her attraction to controlling men like Burt Reynolds, Field admitted, "Somehow I was exercising something that needed to be exercised. This time I was trying to make it work." Additionally, her decision to take the role in The Flying Nun came after Mahoney threatened her career, telling the young actress, "If you don't do this show, Sally, you may never work again." Terrified, she complied. Writing In Pieces became a healing journey for Field. "I was carefully trained to be in this situation. We were the perfect combination of flaws," she wrote. The actress eventually told her mother about the incident shortly after landing her role in Lincoln, 2012. Field explained her motivation for revealing her trauma. "I think part of me knew something the rest of me didn't. I kept it in with the feeling that part of me would need it someday." Which name on Sally Field's list of 5 people she dislikes surprised you the most? Do you think Sally Field's feelings are justified, or is she being too blunt? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you in the next video.